Welcome back to Laguna Seca, and look, I told you it would go away, and it has. You see, we've blown it away. We've got all the fans up in the RVs to start blowing, and that's what happened. Now we have clear blue, puffy clouds and clear blue sky looking over the peninsula, and I think it's just going to get more beautiful by the moment. And that does mean, though, that it'll be a lot less tricky on track as it starts to heat up and give a little bit more feedback to those tires. We turn our attention now to Group 6. That's the Ken Miles 60s GT Trophy. And as I said before, we are naming all our groups this year after men and women that have been a huge part of the innovation and history of their era. And so Ken Miles, with a name that has become now famous because of that Ford Ferrari movie a few years ago. But Ken Miles cut his teeth here in California with the likes of Carroll Shelby, George Foreman, and many others. And yeah, it's great to honor the great Ken Miles, who should have had the triple crown of winning Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans in '66. But Ford wanted a photo finish, and so he had to kind of lift off a little towards the end. But a great driver from Birmingham in England, not far from where I hail from. So great to be able to celebrate his amazing contribution to American racing. And I'm joined for this group by Lindsay Jesh and Hank Jesh, who are the purveyors of the Roadshow podcast. And I'm guessing based in California, guys. But first of all, tell us about what brings you to Monterey and why.
So we are diehard car enthusiasts. We love driving. We do open track events, and we love all manner of things automotive. So we are thrilled to be here, and my dad is crewing for our family friend Bob Stockwell, who is actually driving in this class.
Oh, well, we'll have to make sure we feature him in this. And Hank, same for you, or is she taking you here?
Oh, no. I brought them
It's your
here.
fault.
Right.
It's my fault, and our friend in number 15, 65 Mustang, Bob Stockwell.
Yep.
Like I said, just zip-tied a couple of spots and sent him on his way. So he'll be in about the middle of the pack here. I tried to talk with Jim Farley this morning to see if we couldn't hook a little tow strap to the back of the Cobra.
What'd he say?
He has plenty of power, but he's got a duel going on with the Corvette, so he declined gracefully.
He appreciated the offer, but no thanks.
No, we appreciate the chance. I've told everybody this Automobile Association has gotten us into more places that we never should have been.
Yeah.
Gotten us adventures every single year, some of which we probably should have been in jail for, but you know, it's a thrill every year. And bringing our granddaughter with us, and you know, our daughter here is such a thrill.
Before we go racing, tell us about the podcast.
So it is all manner of things, car talk, car adventures. Like my dad said, we like to joke that constantly we're looking at each other and saying, we have no business being here. How did we get here? This is amazing. So we're sharing our adventures. And my co-hosts and I, Alan, Ryan, and Dan, we all hail from very different parts of the automotive world, and our areas of interest are very diverse. So it's interesting drives, events, and car adventures that we've gotten to have that week.
Well, as you can see, we're going on another pace lap, and I think that's just more a safety concern, making sure that everybody's up to temperature. And just give us an insight. I always enjoy getting stories. When you see the cars parading around here on the pace laps, you think, oh yeah, they just turned the engine on and off they went. There's always so much going on in the background. Somebody's missed a tire or whatever. Somebody's not fueled it properly. Whatever the drama may be, each and every one of these cars will have had something.
We always say we've been so lucky over the years to come up, check the oil, put fuel in, and go. But there are those weekends when you're basically trying to rebuild the car between events. And that becomes a little busy. And so we're looking forward. The car's still out there and they're ready to go.
Well, and this weekend has been no exception because you got to replace a major
all
part.
forms electrical.
Yeah. It keeps it interesting, makes it for dynamic experience.
No kidding.
Well,
Well, we've got a massive entry of some 34 cars in this, so I think even Ken Miles would be smiling when he came down because he'd drive every one of them.
Exactly. Well, and our friends, the Park family, are all driving. Lynn, Steve, and Tim, they're also in this class.
And it's interesting to see the number 8 Le Mans Tiger, which we had the good fortune to see it run at Goodwood last year.
At the Revival.
At the Revival. And one of our club members owns the prototype Le Mans Tiger that is not here today, but in talking with them last year, they said they were going to bring it, so it's great to see it.
And Rob Stockwell is the man you're talking about.
Yes,
Bob.
Bob Stockwell.
Yep,
Bob Stockwell,
correct.
yes, of course.
That's right.
And he's in a fastback GT350 from 65.
Yes.
He is.
Keep an eye on him.
It's an R clone.
Orange headlights.
Okay,
Right
we'll keep
there.
an eye on him.
There we are.
So going up the Ray Hall Straight, and from the drone looking high over, and you can see the mist now just trying to fade away into the distance, thankfully. Had a beautiful day here yesterday. So how many times have you come to this event?
Since 97.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so we were at the Lincoln debut the other night for the new Navigator, which is gorgeous, by the way. And someone looked at my daughter and said, "Oh, is this your first car week?" And we all just started laughing because she's 11 and this is at least her 3rd time here. She started coming when she was 2.
Uh-oh.
So we have been very fortunate to have.
If you're not careful, you're going to have to start buying cars because you'll want to go racing.
So I got to take her out in a passenger session at
And
Willow
that's
Springs.
that's the mistake.
It was 100%. I said, you never know how it's going to go. And when they ran the checkered, she was hooting and hollering. And when they flagged the checkered, she was very disappointed we had to come in.
I'll give you one more, local story. Ross Merrill, well known here, part of the committee. His son, Thomas, a Trans Am champion, used to go around with his mum in club Porsche racing here in the lunch break. And then he got the bug and is now a TA2 champion.
Right.
All I hear from my granddaughter when I take her around the track in our race car, faster, Papa, faster.
Faster,
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're doing another pace lap. So I'm going to look up that.
It's good to see a Bizzarini here.
Yes.
They're few and far between. Wonderful car was at Goodwood last year and has been here, but it's good to always see one in the race.
Yeah, no question. And I think that's what everybody does enjoy, is to actually, everybody loves to get, go around in the pits and paddock and take a look at close up to these cars, but to see them in action and to hear them roar, that's really what it's all about.
It really is. You mentioned that, and I think we were lucky enough to meet Carroll Shelby and become friends with him, especially towards the end of his life.
What a legend, eh?
Truly. Well, and the first time we came here in '97, we brought the 66 GT350, and it was unrestored, still in beautiful shape. But Carroll came down the line of all these restored Mustangs, and he told my dad, "Never paint it. I love it. It means you're enjoying it," which is what I built them to do.
Yeah. Certainly got a good crowd here today. I was watching down in the paddock early this morning about 9 o'clock, and already the main paddock for the anniversary group. And boy, is that a group. I'm sure you've had a look at that, but it's just mind-boggling, isn't it?
No, I've been a little busy with my head under the hood.
Sorry about that.
But today and tomorrow are the days.
Right. Now we get to go look around
Yeah.
once this race is over. Well, and we get to go check out the kids' zone, and my daughter will be evaluating that and enjoying it. She was very excited to see the golf carts as we came in this morning. Go-karts, not golf carts.
Go-karts, absolutely.
Well, they should be all warmed up and
Yeah, it should be ready to go now.
Rechecked.
In fact, they'll probably be frustrated by now because it's getting hot.
Right.
And they haven't. The problem, nobody seems to understand this. When you see cars on a pace lap, it looks very sedate and very, in control. But the truth is, most drivers are panicking because you're worried about the heat going up.
Right.
You're worried about mechanical grip for the tires, especially when it's cool like this. Brakes being up to temperature because you're not using them. You're
Right.
getting hot because the air that you normally would, the engine's getting hot.
Right.
But Jonathan, they go through a routine. They know
Yeah.
on this pace lap, and they use it well to heat the brakes up. Even though they're going slow, they're on them hard to heat them up and keep them hot. It's not so much, they're not going to get a lot of heat in the tire here at this pace, but they can warm those brakes and get things, well in hand.
And guys, if you're wondering just kind of the quality of this field, let me just pick out that 1962 Cobra, the number 97. That's just one of that was the 10th Cobra ever built, guys. Raced here on the West Coast, Riverside, Laguna, and out there today here in 2024. Doesn't get much better.
And it's here out there driving. So how often do they, I mean, this is unusual to have this many pace laps.
I do think that maybe they were a little bit worried about the temperatures and just making sure that the track was okay.
Here it goes.
Here we go. Green flag waves though now, and we are away in the Ken Miles Trophy. Take 2, Group 6. Off and running, and Jim Farley dominated this race yesterday, and he may well do again, but it's great to have Lindsay and Hank on board to tell us their thoughts. They've also got some skin in the game, as you have heard, as Rob Stockwell out there representing.
Exactly. Well, and this is such a fun class because it is truly competitive. You know, Jim Farley is a real racer, and it makes it really, really fun to watch.
I mean, you know, there's so much going on with Ford right now, and you almost, you know, when you see somebody like Jim doing this, you don't think about those boardroom meetings about this high, higher top of the world CEO. You think of a regular guy.
Right.
And I think that's got to help him in his job.
Exactly.
Not an easy position to be in, especially in this current climate with all they're doing, coming back to racing in such style at the moment. Gilbert Hakim coming through in the 110. That's another Ford GT350 in black. Here he comes. Yes, cream one there.
There's Jim.
And pick out any of your favorites, but you've already said that you didn't get much change from Jim Farley offering to drag him around with his Cobra, but he's already off to the race. He's got a Corvette behind him.
Hot on his tail.
They are very close. There's just a few hundredths of a second between those two, and it'll be like that the whole race.
Yeah, I've got a feeling
so
it will be.
if someone hiccups.
Well, that's what makes this field so much fun to watch, because it is a real race.
Well, for a lot of people our ages, this was the iconic class through the 60s. The pony cars.
Yeah.
This drug us all the way through the 60s until we hit the oil embargo, but this was the time when sports car racing really came of age.
Yeah, and I think America, once it developed sport car racing, and a lot of it started here at Laguna, no question that it caught the eye of the international world and started bringing drivers like Sterling and many, many others. Sterling Moss I'm talking about, and you know, they were the best at sports car racing at the time, but they wanted to come to America to race the cars, and I think people like Phil Hill kind of, you know, obviously being a Californian, set the benchmark and for others to follow.
Well, take that in reverse too. When Shelby developed the Cobra, his whole goal was to go to Europe and race against the best. So it transferred back and forth across the pond.
That's the automotive equivalent of the grass is always greener.
Yeah, exactly.
And we've had a lead change.
Yep, that's Rob Walton we're looking at in the number 10 in the Cobra 289. Has Patrick Byrne got him? Yes, he has. There you go. So out of 10 they come, and it's a new leader. It is the Corvette from 1963 of Rob Walton leading the way. Through comes the 8. That's Christopher Baton, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And the Sunbeam Le Mans Tiger. Why do you like the Tiger so? Just because you don't see it that often?
Well, they only built 3 of those cars.
Okay.
So, and one of them was a mule that didn't race, and 2 of them were. So it is an iconic car to represent this class.
Well, it's raced around the world. It's raced at Goodwood, at the Le Mans Classic, and the Masters Race Series. Raced at Le Mans in 1964 in its first year.
Yeah, so it is amazing. It is just one of the several cars that there were so few built, and they're still racing. To be able to come up to this event and watch these cars race is truly a treat.
Yeah.
Well, the race at the front is really hotting up nice as we go back quite rightly to see how Christopher's wheeling. And he's doing rather well in 4th place, just ahead of John Fudge and Chris McAllister. No mean feat to hold those 2 off for very long. Tim Park behind them in 7th, and Nick Colonna. So he's got some work to do, has Baton in the number 8. There's some pretty handy pedalers behind him.
Definitely.
Still a little bit of cloud in the distance away, but as you can see, it's clearing up nicely at the top of the corkscrew. You know, I hate to say it, but TV just belies just how steep that is.
I was thinking that too. If you know, that is quite an experience to go over the corkscrew in a car.
Yeah. When you first turn left and drop over and think, where did the racetrack go?
Yeah. I do the same. When COTA was built, I live in Austin, and I walked up the first corner, to the first corner, and hadn't realized that you literally, in a Formula One car, go blind for the best part of 2 seconds, which is nothing in a Formula One car, but you have no idea what is over the edge of that hill.
Right.
Especially at the start of a race, if you're in the backfield or the midfield.
Oh.
Somebody locking up an Andretti.
Looks like it.
Baton.
That was Baton, wasn't it?
But that's routine. He's been doing that every lap.
Well, he's being chased by this man, John Fudge, and Fudge is well known for his exploits in historic racing. So, not a surprise to see him pounding down the road behind him and probably putting the fear of God into him a little bit.
Right. Keeping it competitive, which is what we like to see.
I like it.
Yeah,
well, this group is quite interesting because you'll have a group at the front that's going to be pretty close, and then a little bit of a gap, and another group, and about 3 groups that all run time-wise. So you've got a race going on all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you almost have 3 races within this because you have several groups that are competitive amongst themselves within the race.
That 66 Bizzarini that John Fudge is wheeling, originally used as a test mule, I think you said that, for the other models.
Yeah, to see these cars driven is just incredible. And, you know, you love when people get out and actually use them for what they were designed to do, and these guys get out and drive them.
So what's on the agenda for the podcast this week? I'm guessing Monterey.
It'll be all Monterey for the foreseeable future, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, you've got plenty of material.
Well, and especially with 4 of us, and we've all done different things. The itineraries have been very different. You know, we've been very lucky to kind of cover a lot of ground. So to a degree, we'll be catching each other up, too.
Yeah. Well, Chris McAllister starting to make a late run now. Trying to close the door, or close the gap anyway, between what's ahead of him. Chris in that 64 Shelby American car, in 6th place overall at the moment. One of 5 FIA Roadsters here at the moment. Originally driven by Gurney at the Targa Floria and finished 8th. The quality of this field is stunning, isn't it? Every time you read out a stat like that, it's like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
I know. When you think of the histories of each of these cars, it's incredible. You know, take any one of them, and they have an incredible, incredible history. And then, again, you get to see them being driven and actually raced is so incredible.
Well, I'm sure in your line of work you get to drive a few cars. Do you tend to go with historic or modern?
I like a good mix of both. I'll drive anything. We recently got to drive a father-daughter Cobra rally, mini rally, and it was really, really, really special. I was in a 289 and my dad was in a 427. But, you know, if you're in traffic, it's nice to have creature comforts, too.
Correspondingly, this is the 50th anniversary of this event. It's also the 50th anniversary of the Cobra Owners Club. And we showed the evolution of the Cobra from a 166 Barchetta all the way through the Cobra line with the original cars.
That's pretty impressive.
Never have been shown before.
Watching Tim Park coming through here in the 91. And that's a beautiful 1963 289 Cobra. God, it sounds awesome.
And that car is basically a street car.
Yeah.
Talking with Tim the other day, it has bolt-on wheels, nothing really special on it, with the exception of the roll bar. But they have been pushing that car for years.
Well, and we're very lucky to have so many friends in this field. I mean, we win either way.
Yeah, as you say, that has been racing at club level now for, well, since the 60s. So, yeah. Here's your battle for the lead.
Oh.
If I'm right in saying, or am I? No, that's a further down battle. That's 161. Excuse me. Looked like it for a second.
161. It did. That's the number 8 and 9 spot.
Yes. Yes, Kelowna, that, yeah. And the 6 of Johnson.
Still competitive, though.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going at it. Let's head down to Kev for the latest from the paddock.
Lovely, thanks, Johnny. Well, how about this? Just standing down here in the paddock area in the middle. I'm catching up with someone who I would call an old friend now, because we've had a chat a few times at this. Bill Patterson, phenomenal artist. If you've never seen his work, check him out online. Super website, super Instagram page. But Bill, you're always a busy man at the Rolex, and tell us what's going on this weekend with you.
Well, I'm just excited to be part of this great event again. I did the official poster, which involved a whole lot of homework, and I got to learn so much about the history. Obviously, I've been here for a lot of years, but there's a whole lot of history that came before my arrival, and it was great getting into it and learning and actually drawing 29 separate cars in 3 faces of marks, because we've had 29 marks, including plus the 3 individuals, Fangio, Gurney, and
who would be the other one?
Carol Shelby. Sorry.
Of course, Shelby. Of course, it would be. It would be Carol Shelby.
Yeah.
But we were just chatting to Aaron Shelby a moment or two ago up on the balcony.
Yeah.
But and it was Fangio in 1991. He was one of the 3 individuals who's been the featured feature of the event. And you got quite a funny story, I reckon.
Yeah. So I was assisting another artist who had arranged to have Fangio sign these prints, and it had been very, very laborious and very time-consuming. And I reminded these guys, hey, I lived in Argentina as a kid. I speak fluent Spanish, Argentine Spanish to boot. And so I helped them. I went to the assigned a suite at the hotel on the 18th green at Pebble.
Oh, nice.
and knocked on the door. And who opened the door but Froilan Gonzalez, who was a hero of mine when I was a kid growing up in Argentina. And here he is, the bull of the Pampas, looking at us like, who the hell are you guys? Turns out one of the funniest human beings on the planet. Anyway, we came in the room. We all introduced ourselves, and there were several people a part of the Fangio group. And one of them started chatting to me in Spanish, and quickly sized my quality of Spanish up and said, "Hey, I've been with Mr. Fangio for a week. I've got so much other stuff to do. I'm his translator whenever he comes into town. Would you please be his translator for a day?"
No way.
So I said, is this a trick question? Like, hell yeah. So I got to hang out with Mr. Fangio and the entourage and Froilan for a day, and telling people such heartfelt stories about how much he meant to them, and how gracious he was to every person that he talked to. It taught me a lot about how to treat people, and what a great human being he was. He was a fantastic guy.
That is a great story, and there you go, kids. Pay attention at language classes in school, because you never know when it's going to work out, right?
That it worked for me. And I got to go watch him take the W196 out on the track, and he was supposed to be a good boy and follow the pace car around. And we're all back in the paddock waiting for him to get done so he could keep signing autographs. And all of a sudden we heard the crowd go nuts. Like, we're like, oh shit, what happened? And then you hear the car go, wah, down the front straight. He passed the pace car, scared the Mercedes-Benz execs. They were nuts. They were freaking out because he was going around the corner sideways and really getting it. And when he came back in, he parked the car, he came over to the signing table and very discreetly took his helmets off, took his goggles off where no one could see, and tears were streaming down his face. He was wiping his tears off. Very carefully sat back down and was so gracious to the next person, the next person, the next person. It was powerful.
That is a great story, Bill. And interestingly, today here at the Rolex, you're going to be the one sitting down at the autograph signing table. You've got to do a bit of a session.
Yeah, I've got some posters to sign, and again, I'm very, very proud how the posters came out. It represents a lot of work on my part, and so much great history at this amazing track. You know, I have to pinch myself when I get here, like, yeah, I've got to remember to do this, that, and remember to be grateful about the fact that I get to be here. Well, it's amazing.
We certainly are all that, so that gratitude is far-reaching for many of us, Bill. What time are you doing your autograph session?
Well, I think I'm 15 minutes behind schedule. So I better get down and get to business. But thank you for the opportunity to tell this story. I love telling it.
It's a great story, and thanks for telling it. So
Yes.
there you go. If you're on site, come and have a chat to Bill. Come and get an autograph, and if nothing else, check him out online and just take a look at some of his art. His art is incredible, and he does it. You do it really quickly, by the way. You did one live 2 days ago, very quickly.
Yeah, I love doing live work, and it turns out it's been a bigger and bigger part of my business is getting up on stage and. I'm such a show-off, I guess. Who knew?
Hey, come on, we all are a little bit. Bill,
right.
a pleasure, as always.
Bye.
Johnny, how about that? Great story. Back to you.
A great story, and one I may add, I'll embellish because it came from the program, that evidently Fangio was just, he was behind the pace car, and he kept saying to the pace car, go faster, because all he wanted to do was put on a show for the folks. And eventually he forced the pace car almost off the track because he was going so fast that the pace car just couldn't hold it. He skidded off, and that's when that roar that Bill just described happened. So great days, great moments, great stories. We'll take a short break, but as you can see, they're coming in to Black Flag this race for now. So join us after this break.